Today we have an important topic.
We do.
Every year. And it's getting older each year.
Yeah.
This whole like, Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. I hate when people nowadays say it like it's a new idea.
Right. Yeah.
I'm okay with it popping back up in the conversation, but when people are like, hey guys, guess what my favorite Christmas movie is? You'll never guess it. Die Hard.
Yeah, it's like I already guessed it. I knew you were going to say that.
Like you set it up in such a way that I knew you weren't going to say like Miracle on 34th Street or whatever.
Right, right.
Was that the right street? Did I say that? 34th Street?
I think it's 30. Is it 31st?
32nd?
You can really tell we know our Christmas movies.
There's too many streets.
There's too many streets.
There's too many streets.
Don't pull your Jerry Seinfeld voice out.
Oh,
Miracle on 31st Street.
I think that's right.
It's got a better ring to it than 34th. I can tell you that much.
I was planning on saying it with confidence and
which
just going over it.
By the way, speaking of calling things by the wrong name,
yeah.
On a previous episode of ours, I called The Legend of Zorro The Mask of Zorro. And it's called The Legend of Zorro.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
So I messed it up.
Good thing we don't have a large audience.
Yeah, to really hold our feet to the flames on movie titles.
Speaking of that, I was re-listening to the last episode.
Yeah.
And I mentioned like we were like well into the podcast, and then I gave the welcome, and I made a joke like, oh, isn't it weird that I always like do the welcome like 7 minutes in? I was
17.
I was already like 17 minutes in. I was so off.
I noticed the same thing because, but it made me feel kind of good because I was like, we were just two buddies talking.
My sense
and
of
time got away from us.
I have no idea. I could not tell you how long we've been talking.
I couldn't tell you how long we've been talking right now.
It feels like 3 minutes, but it's probably 13.
Yeah, it's been a little while probably. 10. Anyway, the topic of the video.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole like Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm at the point now where I've accepted it.
Which, by the way, I'm completely fine with considering Die Hard a Christmas movie. I've got no problems with that.
No, not at all.
It's just the idea that people like might think it's an original thought to have Die Hard be their Christmas movie.
At this point, it's accepted.
Yeah, it is.
And that's what I was going to say. It's like my arc. Like I remember the first time I heard that a long time ago, it blew my brain.
Yeah, I was like,
like everybody. And then I went to the contrarian mode where I was like, it's not, drop it, it's stupid.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. I wasn't fun to be around back then. And now I'm just like, okay, yeah, you know what? It is. It's accepted. Cool.
We're fine with it. Yeah.
But now I have a different issue.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which you probably guessed from the thumbnail or the title.
Yeah.
My other issue is, okay, how come Lethal Weapon isn't getting any love? Because it has just a right to the Christmas movie title as Die Hard, if not more of a right.
I actually, in preparation for this conversation, rewatched Lethal Weapon because I am a big Lethal Weapon fan. In fact, I have a text conversation dating back like a year or maybe two with your brother saying, you guys need to do an essay on Lethal Weapon.
That's right.
And it never happened.
It never happened.
But that conversation exists somewhere. And
I now remember it.
In which I was trying to convince him to do it. And I'm a big Lethal Weapon fan. I like Lethal Weapon. And I think it's really cool. And I am glad to be in the mix of this conversation because I think that after rewatching Lethal Weapon in preparation for this, there are many great little Christmas details in the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot. I actually just rewatched it tonight to like really absorb like all the Christmas elements. Yeah. And there's more than I even remember.
While you were eating your little sandwich.
Eating my tiny Jimmy John sandwich, my mini Jimmy.
Yeah.
Little Jimmy.
I'll be interested to see if you caught one of the things that I caught.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. I think I remember that text conversation, and I guarantee you my reply was something like, we probably need something more, a more solid thesis than Lethal Weapon is cool.
I know that's what your face was like. Probably.
I probably said it just like that.
Look,
I'm sorry, all our YouTube videos.
Every video starts with the idea of something being cool, okay?
Yeah. Well, at the time when the channel started, why it's great, like I got really irritated because not every video can just be the premise being, let's just explain why this is great. Like, it's just a little too,
Sure.
We need to find a more specific thesis or like argument to make than just, this is cool.
I understand what you're saying.
Because then it could just go anywhere.
Sure.
But I'm sure I was annoying
Sure.
how I expressed that.
Sure. I don't think I even had the discussion with you. Maybe your brother talked to you about it and you shot it down or something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I'm revealing all the things I said in private. Like, we can't do that, Dan. That's stupid.
That's the dumbest idea
so
I've ever
stupid.
heard. So anyway, here we are now making a video about lethal.
Well, then I remember because you saying that, I think started my conspiracy theory about Lethal Weapon and the Nice Guys, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But first, I think we should start with the basic question of what makes something a Christmas movie, because that will inform the rest of the discussion.
Yeah. I think I was thinking about this a lot while I was watching Lethal Weapon, and it seems to me like the things that make a Christmas movie are I think, of course, it has to be the Christmas season. Of course, there have to be like certain Christmas like beats that you hit. There have to be some Christmas songs maybe in there. Yeah. There has to be maybe snow. There has to be maybe and actually I think this is the main thing.
Yeah.
I think that makes a good Christmas movie is at the end, by the end of the film. By the end of the film, you should feel a sense of like acceptance, like you feel like a joyful, like warm and toasty feeling of like there has been like maybe some turmoil within like said family or whatever the movie's about, but they've kind of overcome it and accepted each other and like moved on and the idea that like Christmas is all about kind of unifying and you know, coming together and looking over and you know, forgetting our differences and stuff like that. So I think like it has to have those feelings.
Yeah.
Generally.
I actually have a similar argument.
Okay.
I think, yes, in general, you need like Christmas aesthetics.
Yeah.
Because if you just have like a theme that is somewhat parallel to Christmas, but there's no like reference to Christmas or aesthetics, it's like, how could you ever say it is?
I think a lot of Christmas movies lean too hard on the idea that all you need is Christmas aesthetics to make a Christmas movie.
Honestly, I think the best Christmas movies are the ones that aren't like in your face trying to tell you they're a Christmas movie. It's just like Christmas is in the background and then thematically it matches something with Christmas, but like that's kind of where it is.
Yeah.
Like you don't want it like in your face being like, hey, this is about Christmas.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, because if I really think about it, there are lots of movies, a ton of movies actually, where Christmas is shown or there's Christmas in the background, Christmas elements, but like you wouldn't call it a Christmas movie. So like, where does that line end and begin? And so I would say, yes, you need like Christmas music, Christmas aesthetics, so visuals. You need the holiday to take place somehow in the background of the movie. But most importantly, you need all that. Plus, I'm going to piggyback on what you said. I was just thinking about this tonight. I think all Christmas movies, like true Christmas movies, are about redemption.
Exactly.
And that's where Lethal Weapon comes in.
Overcoming some obstacle. Yeah. Overcoming some insurmountable challenge.
Yeah. Because
like, well, because whenever you think about like some of the best Christmas movies, and also I think dynamic change. Yeah. I think that they all have in common, and I think good stories in general have this in common, but I think Christmas movies in particular have in common the lead character or the characters in the movie going through a big change from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, where they felt one way at the beginning and they completely turned around and like were redeemed by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think, yes, but more specifically, it has to do with like moral redemption or how do you phrase it? Reuniting with family or self, because like all the best Christmas movies and stories, like even if you go to like the classic like Christmas Carol, Grinch, even Rudolph. It's all about isolation, then leading to reconnection.
I really like A Christmas Carol.
Yeah. But like, think of it like, what's the archetypal Christmas protagonist? A Scrooge, a Grinch.
Yeah.
Or even look at
Jingle All the Way.
The Jimmy Stewart movie.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's about someone who feels isolated, depressed, alone, or someone whose heart is hardened, and then they are softened and they like are reconnected with family, humanity. They're like, that's a Christmas story.
Yeah.
And I think to Die Hard's credit and Lethal Weapons, that's the core of those movies.
Yes, 100%. And I think both with Riggs and McClane, they are
awesome names.
No kidding, man.
Can you imagine either of those movies without names like McClane, Murtaugh, and Riggs?
No, I can't. Which both movies, we might have to cut this out.
Oh no, where are you going?
Both movies have
Don't make my editing harder for me.
Have a white and black lead character role that is like they become like best friends by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I had never connected those dots, because I think you think of McClane as like a lone wolf kind of, because he's going around the building, but he's not. He's got
the Family Matters guy.
Yeah, he's got his buddy there the entire time.
Yeah. I don't know if there's something conscious about that, or if that just happened to be what it was.
I don't know. That just happened to be what it was. But no, I think both with McClane and Riggs, characters in those movies, they are starting off the film very down on their luck, depressed. Just it seems like life is stacking up against them. And then they have to overcome some large, insurmountable opponent or accomplish some big task. And by the end of it, they're completely changed and redeemed, and their eyes are open to the joy in the world once again.
Yeah.
So they both have that in common. What else do the movies have in common? I mean, they're both action movies.
Yeah. Well, funny thing about that, I was just reading about this. Do you know why at that time there's an emergence of like action movies that are tied to Christmas? So like Die Hard, Lethal Weapon.
Why?
Producer Joel Silver had the idea that if you set all these action movies at Christmas time, you'll get more residuals, because every year the networks will be more motivated to show them on TV. Like every year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he was right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Whoa. I had never even thought about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Shane Black, writer of Lethal Weapon, carried that tradition.
Yeah.
And it's kind of become like a mainstay of his.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joel Silver just had the idea of like, hey, if we put them, because Die Hard came out in like July, and I think Lethal Weapon came out, I don't know if it came out around Christmas time or not, but it's like, if we set it at Christmas and have Christmas elements, we're going to get lots of residuals. Every year on TV, it's going to be played.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
That's some galaxy brain stuff right there.
Yeah, it is, dude.
But let's get more specific and maybe talk about each film's Christmas elements and like which one out Christmases the other.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit right off the top, what a dumb competition, but it's fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I see now, whenever you said, I'm going to admit right off the top, I thought I knew what you're going to say. But I didn't. You said this is dumb, and I was like, oh, well.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Lethal Weapon.
Oh.
All the way.
Oh, yeah.
I
was going to get to that.
It has more Christmas elements.
Lethal Weapon is, I'm not saying it's the better movie.
No. Nobody's saying that.
But it's a better Christmas movie. So let's get into it. Evan,
I'm
going to start with you. Why is Lethal Weapon a better Christmas movie?
So I think Lethal Weapon does a little bit of what A Christmas Carol does. Now hang with me.
I'm hanging.
So Scrooge is like irredeemable. Like, he is the worst. Like, you start that movie thinking, how could I end up liking this guy by the end of the movie?
Yeah.
And so in Lethal Weapon, you don't necessarily feel like, how could I end up liking this guy? But the odds are like completely, like his life is ruined.
He's unhinged.
You find out
Yeah.
he's very, very, he's teetering on the edge of, harming himself, and like he does his job as a police officer, like he doesn't care if he lives or dies, and he's lost everything in his life, and so he feels like he has nothing to live for. So I feel like it's, in a way, we kind of have that same starting point of like our lead character is completely hopeless.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for a Christmas movie, that's a pretty good place to start if by the end we want to get to what we were talking about before. Lethal Weapon, I think it has the Christmas aesthetic in the background. It does all of those things. The Christmas tree scene.
Yeah. It opens with Jingle Bell Rock.
It opens with Jingle Bell Rock. It also ends with a Christmas song.
Yeah.
And Murtaugh's house is decorated for Christmas.
Yeah.
And you can tell this takes place in the weeks leading up to Christmas.
The characters are like constantly referencing that it's Christmas time.
Yes, they are. And I don't know I don't know if I want to get too deep into it, but one of my favorite little tidbits to the movie was towards the end of the movie, and this is what I was talking about. I wonder if you noticed this. The main action sequence where Riggs is chasing the guy through the streets on foot and somehow catching up with him, like
what a great
when he was
run.
in a car.
Yeah.
That was a great action run.
I was thinking about that. I was like, man, that's like Tom Cruise level of running on screen.
So yeah. So by the end of the movie, it's made clear that this is taking place on Christmas Eve. So I think one of the most clever little tidbits in the film is, if you're watching, when Murtaugh stops running, says, I'm too old for this, and he turns around and goes, I'm going to go kill that other guy. I'm going to track him down and kill him. They're in that dark alleyway.
Yeah.
The garage door opens. The car pulls out. They have guns, cocaine, and grenades in the car.
The only things you need.
The only three things you need.
If you
guns,
got guns,
cocaine, and grenades.
Cocaine and grenades, you're set. That's a joke.
And so, yeah.
Don't disable our ads.
Anyway, the car is coming straight at Murtaugh.
Yeah.
And so Murtaugh shoots and kills the driver of the car. Gets out of the way of the car goes into the street, gets hit by a bus, flips over, catches on fire. So anyway, the lead bad guy is in the car struggling. It's made clear that it's going to explode. You see the cocaine and the grenades. The car explodes.
Yeah.
And guess what it does on Christmas Eve? It snows.
Oh, it snows.
Did you notice that there was cocaine floating all through the air?
The cocaine snow effect.
It was going all through the streets, and Riggs comes and gets Murtaugh and goes, "Don't breathe this stuff in."
Oh,
and it's like blowing all throughout the streets and stuff. It's snowing on Christmas Eve.
I remember him saying, "Don't breathe that in," and I just thought he was like assuming like the gas.
No, it was the cocaine floating around.
Oh,
yeah,
snap.
and it snowed on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
I noticed that, and I was like, "This is great." I was like, "This." I watched that, and I was like, "This is a Christmas movie." Like that clinched it right there. Snow on Christmas Eve.
Yes, I agree with all that, but what's tough about this episode is I think we're both on the same page. So like I want to get some devil's advocate going, because there are some people listening who are like, no, man, it's not.
Now I'm a diehard guy.
Specifically, my brother Dan, he was disagreeing with us in our group chat.
He was really, I do think that snow tidbit though is going to win him over.
That's a cocaine snow tidbit.
I think that little detail is going to get him.
Oh man, nothing says Christmas like some cocaine snowing down on you.
Yeah. But no, let's walk through the beats of Die Hard a little bit.
So yeah, I think, to be fair, Die Hard has a similar dynamic, because
it does.
John McClane
very down
is
down bad.
By the beginning of the movie, he is estranged from his wife and his family.
Yep.
So he's already starting from that archetype we've already mentioned of the isolation, the hardened heart kind of point. I would say he's not as hardened or as down as Riggs, because literally at the beginning of the movie, Riggs shoves a gun in his mouth. Yeah,
he's on the edge.
He's on the edge.
And that scene is actually like powerful. No matter how many times I watch that scene and realize how old the movie is, that scene is heartbreaking.
It is.
Like, it really is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, so like, but John McClane, to be fair, does follow that same archetype, and he kind of has a similar arc.
Yeah.
Another counterpoint to maybe why Die Hard would be a more essential Christmas movie is that Christmas directly affects the plot of Die Hard.
Yeah,
because
it does.
The bad guys go into the building on that day specifically for the Christmas party, knowing there's less people there.
And it takes place during a Christmas party.
Yeah.
Which is like automatically.
So someone could argue, which Dan pointed out in our text exchange, that like if you remove Christmas from Die Hard, it like completely changes the plot and motivations of the characters.
Yeah. Very good points.
But I would say, yeah, while Christmas doesn't directly affect the plot of Lethal Weapon, it is really closely tied to the theme of it.
Yeah.
And I think Lethal Weapon works any time of the year you set it on with his journey, but it just, having it at Christmas time, especially when you think about where the film ends, when Riggs, after overcoming like all this cocaine, heroin nonsense, and he like has that moment at his wife's grave, and he kind of like makes peace, and he gets invited into Murtaugh's family's house. Like that little moment where like Murtaugh and like Murtaugh's daughter like invite him in, and he like opens his heart up to like go in.
Yeah.
It hits a little harder knowing it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And knowing he's being invited in on Christmas. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you take that away, it doesn't drastically change the movie at all. But you lose that little cocaine seasoning on top.
Did you notice Murtaugh reaches up and fixes the light bulb?
Yeah, the light bulb, yeah.
As if to kind of say,
yeah,
you can fix what's broken.
Yeah, I did notice that. I remember thinking that. Yeah.
Nice. Anyway, back to Die Hard. Yeah. So it takes place during a Christmas party, which I think it is central to the plot of the movie. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't take that away from it no matter what. And actually, I meant to rewatch Die Hard before this, but I didn't.
It's tough.
Bruce Willis, what is his motivation for being there in the building that evening?
Dude, you're really exposing me because I can't really remember.
Right? I
needed to rewatch it either, which makes me feel like a fraud right now.
We could cut this out,
right? We could cut this out. No, we got to keep it in. We got to keep it real.
Editing is lying. Look, guys.
Editing is lying, man.
We don't know why he was there, but he was.
I'm gonna admit it. It's a movie I haven't seen in a while.
Honestly, in a movie called Die Hard, do you really need to know why the action hero was there to save the day?
He was there. Like, wasn't he there to like...
He dies hard.
Wasn't he... Like, was he invited by his wife? Or like, was he giving something to his wife? I can't exactly remember.
You know what? I think... Yeah, I got it. I got it.
I can look it up.
Here's what it is. He was a police officer. No, he's a police officer in New York, remember?
Yeah.
And so he traveled to LA in order to see his wife because she took a job out there.
Right, yeah.
So he traveled out there, and he was out there because he wanted to patch things up with his wife.
Yeah, I knew
so
that.
So he came to the party, and then when things started to go down, he wasn't with the main group, and so he like slipped away.
Yeah, I knew he wanted to reconcile things, but I can't remember if that's the exact reason he went to the Christmas party.
I think he was invited. Yeah. Because he was out there for the holidays to see his kid and his wife.
And the German radicals come in as he's changing clothes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
The German radicals.
That's how Wikipedia refers to them.
The German radicals.
No, we're being overtaken by German radicals.
That would not have been my first guess.
No.
So yeah, Christmas is central to the plot, as we've established. But I feel like I feel like the Christmas elements kind of die off from there until the end of the movie.
I think Christmas is in the periphery of Die Hard.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's integral to the plot, but there aren't a lot of like Christmas moments.
Yeah.
Like, or like shots, or like, whereas in Lethal Weapon, there's so many parts of like Christmas there. Like Murtaugh's house is decorated with Christmas. You have the Christmas meal he gets invited to.
Yeah.
You have the
snow
Christmas
on
tree,
Christmas Eve.
the cocaine snow. Evan can't drop.
The Christmas tree
Christmas
farm drug bust.
Drug bust shootout scene.
Yeah.
So like Christmas trees play a part. Like Christmas is just everywhere. Like people are constantly talking about Christmas. Oh, there's the part where Riggs is getting the suicide jumper off from the building, and he's talking to him like, "Hey man, like I know it's that time of year,
Right? Yep.
where it's like you're just reminded of like how stressful and like alone you are.
Yeah.
Like so that's another like direct call out to Christmas there.
Yeah. So
I just feel like Christmas is in the frame a lot in Lethal Weapon, whereas like,
Right.
the party is decorated, but
and not to say anything against Die Hard, because like Die Hard gets awesome. Like he's like it's straight up survival mode for McClane at this point. He's got these German radicals.
these German radicals.
These German radicals chasing him all over Nakatomi Tower, and he's trying to survive. The part that always gets me, the glass. Whenever he has to run on the glass.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Crawls through the tunnels. Can you think of any can you think of Die Hard as like an allegory for anything that's like Christmassy, or like parallels anything that's Christmassy? I mean, his journey and his struggle, like, cuz he does, like, he's like beat up and injured and stuff by the end of the movie, and like, that's kind of a parallel maybe for how we feel around the holidays of like, kind of beat down and
that's what I was going to land on with why I find Lethal Weapon the more powerful Christmas story, is that I feel like the dramatic weight to Riggs's arc hits harder than McClane. So like, yes,
I agree.
McClane reconciling with his family at the end, and like that phone call he has with his wife where he kind of admits like, I wasn't the best husband. I didn't like prioritize you or the family. That's nice and sweet and moving. But like when you see Riggs at the beginning, like literally contemplating suicide because he misses his wife, and he's like talking to his wife's photo saying, I miss you.
Yeah.
And that scene could come across so awkward and weird if it weren't for Gibson's performance.
Yeah.
And then you see his journey to the end where he finally like moves on from the grief of his wife, and he finds a new family, a new purpose with Murtaugh.
Yeah.
Like that just hits so much harder to me because the low was lower.
The low was so low. Yeah.
And so like where he had to overcome, like, McClane, he crawled through more elevator shafts and air ducts, but you're talking about metaphorical climbing.
Yeah.
The climbing Riggs had to do.
That's true.
Was intense.
And I will say one thing that Die Hard has going for it, though, and we were talking about this a little bit the other day, is that way more iconic lines.
Yeah.
In Die Hard than in Lethal. And I mean, Lethal Weapon has its iconic lines for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like Die Hard definitely takes the cake.
Does have
on the iconic lines.
Well, and I don't know. Again, I haven't rewatched Die Hard recently, so I'm basing it on like memory of how many times I watched it when I was younger.
Yeah.
But it probably is the better action movie.
Yeah. Probably so. Yeah, I would agree.
It's more of a straightforward action movie, whereas Lethal Weapon, for most of its runtime, is just like a buddy cop kind of comedy.
Yeah.
And then it's not until the second half where like the film really expands and you get like all these kind of really intense action sequences.
Well, and it's not until the very end that you realize Mel Gibson, he's a lethal weapon.
He's a
legitimately.
Yeah.
Like, he walks into a room full of like 6 people with guns.
Yeah.
And just punches them all to death.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, not realistic, but 80s action movies, baby. You gotta love them.
Yeah.
But no, I think that what Die Hard has going for it is that, yes, it is a better, I think it probably is a better action movie. It, I think it does accomplish that, a goal of being a little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
I think it's a little, the emotional weight isn't quite there. And I think sometimes you don't want as much emotional weight. And I think it is a little bit, easier to just put Die Hard on and let it go and just let yourself enjoy it. And
well, it's an amazingly paced action movie, and the stakes keep getting raised, and like he keeps finding himself, McClane, in more and more precarious situations, kind of like Drive, or not Drive.
I mean,
Speed.
You know what? I had your back completely on that.
You knew exactly what I was talking about.
I didn't know what you meant by Drive, but I was like, I know he's going to explain it, so I'm just going to shake my head yes.
Speed.
Yeah,
There's a lot of driving in Speed.
Yeah.
But you know, like how Speed, it just keeps escalating and escalating, or like this is getting worse. Die Hard's similar. I feel like the pacing in Lethal Weapon's a little weird because like you do get like all this setup with Murtaugh's family, Riggs' situation. Them, like the whole first half is literally just them like hanging out, getting to know each other, and they do a little investigating. It's not until the last hour that you start getting all these explosions and these set pieces.
Yeah.
So I could see how you're right. Die Hard's probably an easier watch.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I think it is definitely. Well, and I think I seem to remember Die Hard being on a little more often.
Yeah.
Like just TV, where I think it's a little easier to just kind of stand there and watch it, and it's a little lighter and just a really, really fun action movie. And man, it's just so satisfying to see McClane get the best of these German radical. What was it?
Well, here's the thing. Maybe this is going off a different path, but which franchise has the better sequels?
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
Because they both have good sequels, but they both have like not so good sequels. And to be forthright, I haven't seen all of the Lethal Weapon sequels, but I do know they get a little too wacky towards the end.
You know, Andrew, I'm not going to say anything bad about the Lethal Weapon sequels.
I mean, Joe Pesci's in
them.
Pesci, man.
Chris Rock comes in the fourth one. Yeah. Jet Li is in the fourth one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to have to get on this.
Like, I'm not going to say anything bad about them. You know what? They do get wacky.
Yeah.
And they do get kind of goofy and crazy.
Yeah.
And I would even venture to say really goofy and crazy.
But Lethal Weapon 2 is amazing.
But they're so fun, man.
Yeah.
They're so fun.
Well, how about this? From hearing you and from what I've read, I feel like after Die Hard 3, they're really not even like bad in a fun way, whereas Lethal Weapon probably, even the bad ones, are in a fun way.
Yeah. So here's what I know about Die Hard sequels. Mm-hmm. Die Hard 2, not interested.
It's okay. It's not bad.
Die Hard 3
is great.
I will turn that on anytime I see it on.
Die Hard 3 is amazing.
Die Hard 3 is awesome. And Live Free or Die Hard with Justin Long.
It has its moments.
I loved that movie whenever it came out, dude.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was rad. You know, McClane just has a way of getting out of sticky situations.
Yeah.
He just makes it happen, you know? And it's just fun to watch. The other one, though, there's another one after Live Free or Die Hard.
With Jai Courtney.
I did not see that one.
I put it on. It was on TV. I put it on for like 20 minutes, and like I felt so confused. It did not. There was nothing compelling about it.
I think having Die Hard with a Vengeance, Die Hard 3, and Live Free or Die Hard, those two are great. I really like those.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lethal Weapon put forth 4 pretty, decently solid, entertaining movies.
Yeah.
Would Mel Gibson beat Jet Li in a fist fight? You'll have to watch and find out.
He's a lethal weapon. That's the thing about the Lethal Weapon movies. I don't think Mel Gibson is acting. I really don't.
What? What are you talking about?
I really think he's just that insane. Like, I rewatched Lethal Weapon 1, and I'm like, I could see this is just the kind of stuff Mel Gibson gets himself into. Like,
I understand.
Now, like, I don't think he's that, like, I don't think he's that skilled as a fighter or shooter, you know what I mean, in real life. But I mean, like, how he acts, like, how manic he is, I'm like, that's probably what Mel Gibson is like.
Yeah.
Honestly.
There are some moments in Lethal Weapon 1 where you're like... He does some stuff. You're just like, whoa.
Well, at the Christmas tree shootout, when he's talking to the guys who are selling him drugs, and he does the thing where he's like,
he
runs his fingers through. I'm like,
and then he pulls his gun out of it.
I don't think Mel Gibson was acting. I think that's just what happened.
Yeah. I think that's just what happened. Yeah, no, that's one of the particular parts of the movie.
I think it was like a cinema verita moment where it's like, okay, guys, roll the camera. The camera.
Yeah.
Mel's doing it again.
Yeah. No, he has some moments in that movie that are like, that even by 80s movie standards, it's like, that was really weird.
Well, like if you think about the stuff Mel Gibson has gotten in trouble for in real life, I would believe that Riggs would have that same issue. Like,
sure.
I would believe Riggs would get caught with that phone call.
You know what? I think it is one of those things too, where you just feel like Riggs and Mel Gibson are very similar.
Yeah.
People. And maybe Mel Gibson isn't, well, we know for a fact Mel Gibson isn't a detective in LA.
Yeah.
But like,
do we?
But could he have been? Maybe. Would it have gone something like that? Probably not. But no. But I just get the sense, like, I feel like there's a like that he's that character. Like he just became that character.
Well, it's kind of like Tom Cruise and Ethan Hunt. Like, if the government had to send Tom Cruise on a like death-defying mission, I think he would do better than we'd think.
I would be, honestly, I would be sitting at home. The news would come in. Tom Cruise is doing an impossible mission, but this time it's real.
But that's exactly how it is. But this time it's real.
And I would say, okay, let's give it a shot.
I'd be like, we're safe.
I trust my boy to try.
It's like, we're safe.
I just don't think it could hurt, you know?
Like if the U.S. government is out of options, it doesn't hurt to send Tom Cruise.
No, and I think that should be it. Write that down. Remember.
You think they got that somewhere written down, like Plan C?
Tom Cruise.
C is for Cruise.
Yeah,
we're going to Plan C. Plan Cruise.
Plan Cruise. Yeah. No, I don't get me started on Mission Impossible, but I think it's a little bit that way with Ethan Hunt and Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise as Mel Gibson and Riggs, but also that way with Murtaugh. I feel like he really like embodied that character as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think that both movies have do something that I love, where they end, and then but it's just the end to one part, or one storyline comes to an end, and then there's a little bit of like an epilogue, kind of like finishing out of the movie, where it almost feels like it has two like boss battles, or like two like big ending sequences that I really like. Kind of like in Lethal Weapon, whenever it snows on Christmas Eve, the main boss dies.
Yeah.
But then after that, Murtaugh's like, he knows where I live. Because you kind of assume like, oh, he's gotten away or whatever.
Gary Busey's, he's fleeing the country.
But no, he's going to Murtaugh's house. And so then that epic like fist fight in the front yard takes place. And it kind of feels like that like epilogue, like it's really putting the finish on like this group of characters, and I think Die Hard does kind of the same thing, where they get out of Nakatomi, he kind of saves everybody, there's the big explosion, yippee-ki-yay, and then they travel to Canada. Wait, is that in the third one?
Are you having a Mandela effect?
I think I might be thinking of it wrong.
I think you're thinking of a different one. Let me get on Wikipedia. We should have rewatched it.
Yeah,
we failed you.
I was trying to rewatch it, but I didn't, and I rewatched Lethal Weapon instead.
No, it ends with, let's see.
I'm thinking of the third one.
So Gruber crashes through a window, but grabs onto Holly's wristwatch and makes a last-ditch attempt to kill the pair before McClane unclasps the watch, and Gruber falls to his death. Outside, Carl ambushes McClane and Holly, but is killed by Powell. Holly punches Thornburg Wikipedia is acting like we remember the names of the goons.
Listen.
When he attempts to interview McClane before Argyle crashes through the parking garage door in the limo and drives McClane and Holly away together. So it ends with them driving off.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of the end of the third one.
Probably, yeah.
Which is another reason why I love the third one so much.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why Lethal Weapon is better, because I'm thinking about how I love the third one so much.
Yeah.
Well, no, but who gave him the watch?
In Die Hard?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I think his wife might have given him the watch.
Probably.
And then he grabs the watch and he unclasps it and kills the bad guy.
Yeah. I actually really don't feel
Holly
too guilty.
for the win.
I don't feel too guilty about not remembering much about Die Hard, because the whole point of this is to raise awareness.
Yeah.
That Lethal Weapon is just as deserving of a Christmas watch.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from Die Hard either.
No.
I'm not trying to say that it's bad or that it doesn't deserve to be called a Christmas movie or anything like that. I'm not doing that. But I believe that Lethal Weapon deserves a seat at the Christmas movie table.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It deserves some of that Christmas turkey.
Yeah.
Turkey. And Die Hard doesn't need any help. It has all the defenders in the world.
It doesn't. It has a big camp of people that are rooting for it and love it.
Yeah. But
which it should.
For those of you who were skeptical going in, this Christmas, if you want to watch a non-traditional Christmas movie, but you want those Christmas vibes and explosions and helicopter shootouts
and snow on Christmas Eve
and cocaine snow on Christmas Eve, put on Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, man.
Put on Lethal Weapon.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's our defense. I think it's deserving. Yeah. I don't think we need to, beat a dead horse or anything about it, but what was that?
I was just reminiscing on all the cool scenes in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
You know the desert scene?
Dude, I was going to mention the desert shootout was pretty dope.
That's a really cool scene.
That's a really cool scene. Yeah. I love the shot at the end where, Mel Gibson beats up Gary Busey. They go to arrest Gary Busey, but then Gary Busey pops up and he goes to shoot. And then Murtaugh and Riggs both point at the same time to shoot him. And it's just like that slow-mo, and it like freeze frames, not really freeze frames, but it like kind of
slows down.
It stays on them with their guns extended.
And then the saxophone goes.
Dude, yeah, the score of Lethal Weapon is so dope, that like Eric Clapton kind of jazzy score.
Right? Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's really good.
I love in those movies, like when anything happens or somebody says like a witty line, there's just like a guitar solo, like, or like a saxophone comes in.
Yeah, I need that in my life. Real quick before we end this episode.
Yeah.
We got to share them the conspiracy theory that The Nice Guys is a remake of Lethal Weapon.
I'm still trying to figure this out because the timelines don't work for my current theory. The timelines don't work.
Yeah.
Because in Lethal Weapon, they come upon a house where there's a suspect, where they think there may be evidence of some of these drug dealings. And they pull up to the house and the house explodes.
Yeah, I caught that on this watch, and I was like, that's what Evan was thinking about.
There's a group of kids that so there's more too. Okay. And there's a group of kids outside that tell him like the comings and goings of the people that are going there. So in The Nice Guys, they come upon a house that they hope will have suspects and evidence in it, and it's already been burned down. And a kid comes along and tells them the story of what happened, exactly like in Lethal Weapon. But my theory initially was that they exist within the same universe and that they're two separate detective groups, but they live in the same world.
Yeah.
And that they were investigating the same house, only Riggs and Murtaugh were there when it exploded, and the Nice Guys were there after the fact.
It doesn't work though.
But it doesn't work because The Nice Guys took place in the 70s.
It took place in 77 and Lethal Weapon came out in 89.
Yeah, so that fell apart. But there's another one. Yeah. So, do you remember when Ryan Gosling is driving down the highway and he has that dream where he like catches on fire?
Yeah.
And crashes the car or whatever? I can't quite remember it. If he crashes the car or what.
He doesn't have a dream he catches on fire. He has a dream that a like a giant fly is talking to him.
Yeah.
And it sounds really weird. No, it's like a bee or something.
Doesn't the car catch on fire? Isn't there
crash.
A fire that takes place?
No, they like crash, and then the briefcase that had the money they were transporting, the money opens, and they realize that the money was fake. It was all paper.
Yeah. Isn't there like a fire?
I think they at certain points have scenes in the same locations.
Yeah. Well, whenever Riggs was shooting at the car, Gary Busey's car, the front end of it catches on fire.
Yeah.
And I thought I remembered something in The Nice Guys of like a car catching on fire that same exact way or something.
Sure, yeah.
So I was
here's the weird things about the two movies, that it's not like they parallel in like specific plot points, because they don't. They copy each other in weird minor ways that I can't let go. So think about the openings of both movies. Yeah. They both open with the fatal death of a sex worker.
Yep.
So, I mean, actually, they're both porn stars. Yeah. So, in Lethal Weapon, she's a prostitute, but she also did pornographic videos.
Yeah, you're right.
In The Nice Guys, it's a straight up porn star.
Yeah.
So it opens with that. There's a weird thing where they both introduce two of the characters in a bathtub.
Yeah.
So Lethal Weapon, you're introduced to Danny Glover, Murtaugh, while he's in the bathtub.
Yep.
You're introduced to Ryan Gosling in The Nice Guys. He's sitting in the bathtub. And they're both interrupted by their kids. Mm-hmm. It's weird. Like, why that specific detail?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then you think about it. One of the detectives in both movies has a dead wife.
Yep.
One of them is, and they like has a dead wife, but still has, but the difference is, the one with the dead wife in The Nice Guys is the one who has a kid, whereas the one with kids in Lethal Weapon is the one who has a living wife.
The alive wife, yeah.
Yeah. But both their kids get captured, so...
Well, also, Weapon, Nice Guys takes place around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. Their kids get captured at one point. Like in The Nice Guys, his daughter gets captured. In Lethal Weapon, Murtaugh's daughter gets captured. It's like, why these really weird specific points? But like the mysteries are completely different.
Yeah.
And like, other than the fact that like, they're both buddy cop films, so the relationship between the two protagonists are similar. But that's only similar in the sense that all relationships between buddy cops
maybe
are
it doesn't go any further than that. The Nice Guys pays homage to Lethal Weapon in like many ways.
Yeah.
Like the car stuff, where like at the beginning of the movie, she jumps off the building and lands on the car. That happens in The Nice Guys. It doesn't happen at the beginning, but it happens in The Nice Guys.
I think
that's another kind of minor little detail.
It's obviously just something that happens when the same person is writing it. But they're just certain ones that are like irk me. Like, why the bathtub thing really is just like, that's
the bathtub really bothers you, doesn't
it? It's so specific. Like, why would your first scene with these characters, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like they're both inspired by the pulpy crime novels Shane Black grew up reading, and so like a lot of like the death of like a sex worker is just like an integral part of those stories.
Yeah.
But I have this weird conspiracy theory that I think The Nice Guys was born from like a version that he wrote of Lethal Weapon, or one of the Lethal Weapon films, or like stuff he didn't get to, and like he just kind of made it its own thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I would completely buy that. I want that to be the case. Like I want there to be.
I almost caught another one where in Lethal Weapon, when Gary Busey goes to Murtaugh's house, and they left him a note on the Christmas tree. It said "From the good guys," but at first I thought it said "From the nice guys."
Man,
and I was like,
"Yo, if that would have been, man." You would have just,
but no,
you would have just blew my mind. Just now.
It said "From the good guys," and I was like, "Oh, that's close."
So close.
Yeah. Well,
man, Shane Black is probably like I have no idea what anybody's talking about.
Yeah.
I was just writing.
He was just doing his thing.
Writing movies.
Yeah. He was just in his writer's room.
In his wheelhouse, baby.
Having some cocaine snow down on him.
Now who won't let it go?
The best way to write a script.
Just cocaine snowing down.
That's Lethal Weapon versus Die Hard.
Yep.
Honestly, they're both Christmas movies. Let's just say it.
They're both Christmas movies, and they're both great. I'm gonna go back and watch Die Hard again here before Christmas because I love Die Hard, and I think it's a great movie, and it's super fun to watch. And I mean, I don't want to say one is better than the other, or that one wins out over the other, but I love both of them a lot. And I tend to lean towards Lethal Weapon right now, but I might watch Die Hard and pick up some tasty little, tidbits in there that they left behind, and grow some more love for it too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, real quick before we sign off, I don't think I've ever asked you this. Besides what we just mentioned, what's your favorite Christmas movie? We don't have to dive too deep into it, but
yeah, I would say serious Christmas movie, A Christmas Carol.
Right.
And I would say comedy. Right now, I'm really vibing with Four Christmases.
Really? The Vince Vaughn Four Christmases? Wow.
I'm really vibing with it.
I haven't seen that since I saw it in theaters.
I really like it. But also, I also really like the Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
Oh, yeah, really?
I really like that one. I laugh. It makes me laugh every year when I watch it. It just makes me laugh. Like, he just makes me laugh so hard. Because you can tell he's so obviously doing so much improvisation in those scenes. It's just so funny to me.
Yeah. For me, I think my go-to favorite Christmas movie is Home Alone.
Oh man.
I just love Home Alone.
It's so good. Yeah.
It really just,
you're completely right.
The emotions of it sneaks up on you, and I love that. How like it just kind of backdoors that emotional payoff at the end.
Yeah. I think Home Alone is kind of branded onto my childhood brain.
Yeah.
Like my kid brain is like,
yeah.
I remember like the furnace as like, I wasn't old enough to realize it wasn't scary. So I was scared. Like whenever I was watching that, I was scared by it like Kevin was.
Yeah.
And
I watched that so much as a kid.
Yeah. Man.
I can still picture his like macaroni and cheese dinner he preps at the end.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it looked so delicious as a kid. But I've had mac and cheese. I don't know why I was so like taken with that. But it looked so delicious. Anyway, that's our Christmas episode. I hope you enjoyed.
There it is, man.
If you haven't ever seen Lethal Weapon, please do yourself a solid and watch it.
Yeah.
And from both of us, I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Christmas.
Hopefully you have people to hang out with. But I always like to find room to watch a movie or two on Christmas, and I hope you do too. With that being said, you can find us on YouTube at Why It's Great. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Professional Appreciators. I think we're going to take a week off to kind of regroup from the holidays.
Enjoy Christmas a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be rushing to edit something or get something out during the Christmas weekend. So we might drop some reviews on the feed, some like short little reviews. But other than that, we're not going to see you for a little bit. And I know that breaks your heart.
Yeah. Well, Merry Christmas, buddy.
Oh, Merry Christmas to you too. That was like a little too sincere.